All right, so let's talk about some documentaries for a bit. So, Ricardo, you finally checked out Atlanta's Missing and Murdered, The Lost
Yeah.
Children. This is one that I recommended you check out. I think I recommended it a few weeks ago. So, if you don't mind, you just mind sharing with us what this show is about.
All right. So back in the late 70s, very early 80s, they had a series of murders in Atlanta. About 30 or so odd children went missing and bodies were found. And they finally found, who seemed to be the killer, a fellow called Wayne Williams. The whole narrative is the trial bounded on this aspect of the storytelling of yes, well, Wayne Williams is this guilty figure, but then they're trying to rehold some of the narrative and the storytelling and the evidence to say that is not the case. And yeah, that's the story. And they get into higher systemic problems involving Atlanta, race, the money involved, to cover up the whole thing and to try to just make it go away. And that's pretty much it.
Right. So well before I share my thoughts on this, right? What did you think about Atlanta's Missing and Murder? What were
Yeah,
your thoughts on it?
yeah, no, pretty good. Very clinical, and a little slow, but still good. It's what, 5 episodes, right?
Yeah, five episodes.
Yeah, so yeah, it did this story. They kept it human, and the whole point was just to show that is all of this disposability of blacks in the United States as a big part of the story. They did that really really well. They set that narrative up. Um, they made the case for like how people just again it had two big kind of running factors: the amount of money coming in and out of Atlanta, and whether or not they want to cover up on that, and then the idea of the race conflict, and they apparently deemed it as a scapegoat.
Yes, right.
Yeah, a scapegoat in the sense of Wayne Williams. You're not sure if that's the case, and that's I think what's going on there. It's that narrative of the cynicism of all the forces involved, because they get into the idea that if this Atlanta thing was if it was a white perpetrator, it was it would have been a big problem, right?
Yeah,
And if it was, they had to make it like that. So it had to be Wayne, and Wayne was the perfect person. It's like, he black, so you don't really have to care anymore, and we could just trim in our hole somewhere. And Wayne is, the last couple episodes kind of spends a lot of evidence getting into the general like aspects of that and how much power involved and if they cover it up at all or if Wayne was actually guilty itself. Not sure. So that's mostly about it. It's just that overall meta narrative about criminal justice and the law and how the second trial should have played out this way and it didn't. And still, up to this day, haven't gotten parole, which should have, apparently, right, according to them. But that people still maintain that he's guilty, right, to this day, right?
yeah,
So I don't know. So
right.
that's how they played.
Right. Well, in my case too, and this will be a nice segue to another documentary that we will talk about. This will be the last dance. This is one of my favorite docu-series of the year, hands down.
Okay, yeah.
I really, really, really enjoyed this. Well, enjoy, but I was intrigued for the word go. The story hooked me in, and well, when you think about the story itself, right? So oddly enough, my introduction to this, well, funny enough, I should say, my introduction to this was off of a Netflix show that I praised called Mindhunter, right? Well, this will be
Yeah.
season 2, which pretty much was about this whole. Well, it started off well, as usual with the show. It starts off with one like just a particular killing or series of killings, and it just ended with these series of killings of youths in Atlanta, right, in the late 70s. Well, it's set in the 70s, so it just stopped at like 1979, right? They actually stopped around the time when they arrested the guy Wayne Williams, right? Yeah, the thing that was bugging me, like when I first saw it, I was like, why this guy looks so weird? You know what I mean? Like, oh, you own this, you have this little recorded studio, and you're bringing in like teens, like boys across there, like something off with you. And even I myself was like, yeah, he did it. He looked like the guy who did it, right? But is the disclaimer
Right.
at the very end when they said, even though he was arrested and he was convicted for 2 murders, I believe it was, there were
Right.
still others over the course of like 3, 4 years that remain unsolved. And that just hit me like, oh, it can't just be this one guy who do all this stuff, right? And that's what the show here dives in deep into. You know what I mean? And just from the word go, I love how they just kind of showed us how these murders impacted Atlanta. You know what I mean? And also I love the little moments where they show why Atlanta is just such influential city in America. You know, with all these black-owned businesses. You know, it has a black police chief, black mayor, all that kind of stuff. You know, what I mean, it was just the epitome of just black success. You know, what I mean, black universities and all that kind of stuff, right? Uh, but then you have this darkness going on now with these murders taking place now, and then people just pointing the blame at Wayne Willis because he was caught by the police. He crossed this bridge, and why would he be driving? Well, I think the excuse was he was going to meet someone that he was going to bring over to his place to record some music or some kind of thing like that.
Yeah.
And we wonder why he was out there so early in the morning, all that kind of stuff, right? So, to the untrained eye, it's easy for you to pick up on that, right? But what I love about the show here is that it goes in even deeper to investigate. Oh well, look at the evidence here. They even had me too when they actually show his parents.
Right.
When they actually show his parents and what I mean, how they dealt with the situation here too. And it's just how the police and everybody just went all in trying to figure out all this stuff, carbon fibers that were on the rugs and his house and all that kind of stuff, right? And you're there like, okay, well, they had all this stuff, but why it is these crimes remain unsolved? Why it is there was just why were there so much of these murders taking place over the past 3 years? What's really going on here, right? But is when they went into Wayne's actual trial, and
Right.
all that stuff was going on. That's when the show really hit my hand because, like, yeah, he literally was a scapegoat, right? And it's
Right.
when they reveal it that if it was a white person that did the murders, you know oh, what I mean, like the country would have gone into chaos literally. But because a black man, what I mean, it's just like, oh, let's just not spend that much time or resources on
Right.
this. Just do this, and yeah, he do it. Okay, cool. You know what I mean? And that was a gut punch to me, Dred. And they show it. That's literally what happens. You know what I mean? Even though
Yeah.
O'Regan come and say, this is a serious matter and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? But still, look at how quickly they convict this guy and, arrest him, right? And yeah, at this point in time, he is still, I believe he's incarcerated, right? Yeah, you know what I mean? And even though it is this powerful scene where just through voice message actually, he communicated with the families of the kids who got killed, and some of them actually still believe that he did it. You know what I mean? And that was just such a powerful moment. One thing this show deals with is just how the killings affected the families. Though, just hearing the stories from the families
Yeah.
themselves was just heartbreaking. There was one mother in particular who just left Atlanta because how her son's murder remained unsolved. Like that one really hit me though. So yeah, from an emotional standpoint, this was poignant. This at times is really tough to sit through. Can just I don't know, this is so gripping. But what the show excels at is just how deep it goes into this whole story. Not just with uh, the shock and the whole media frenzy associated with the murders, but also the case itself. You know what I mean? What the clues that were left there, and just all the kind of stuff. There's even one moment with carbon fibers where when I saw that I was like, wow, boy, like,
Yeah. But the big one was
jeez, boy.
the dog, the fella dog. So
Yes.
they keep insisting he had a dog, but then when they actually check, other fella, the white fella, forget who other white fella name, he had the dog. So
Yeah.
that to be like he was more like the person though.
Yeah.
Uh, and
And
then when
and,
it get
and
back, it get back to the well, what we talk about with the last couple of documentaries. People in forensics fucking up, right?
yes, yeah, yeah.
You talk about the FBI having all these cases, and you talk about the quote unquote black rain, where it's just things mess people not storing the things, so it interfering with evidence in other cases. Like, geez, well, the
Yeah,
level
yeah,
of
yeah.
sloppiness. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that
that moment, like I was laughing at him, but at the same time I was shaking my head like,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why we
Okay.
incarcerated, right? But this one last thing I
Yeah.
want to see before I get to Rita, right? One thing that I dug is how it explored the racism that was, well, in Atlanta. So some of the murders were associated with some KKK members, and well, not spoiler what happens there, but just essentially that they had more to do, or they may have had more to do with some, if not all, the murders that Wayne, with the ones that he was convicted of, and to this day the ones that people believe he was responsible for as well. So it goes really in depth into just Atlanta itself in a way, and what was going on with those murders, and that's what I love too. It really goes into its history and just showing like how this one moment in their history is something that they can't forget, they can't ignore, even though they might try to sweep it away from public eyes. So it's not something that you'll hear about today, even though I believe this was like the 40th anniversary, I think it was, of the murders themselves, or the conviction of Wayne Williams or something like that. I'm not too sure, but it's the 40th anniversary of one of those things. Yeah, so yeah, it's a part of their history. It's something that they can't forget. But the mere fact that a majority of these murders remain unsolved, Dread, it's just like, jeez, boy. So yeah, I mean, that's what I could say. I dug the hell out of this one. 5 episodes. This is about a 5 hour binge because each episode is like about an hour long.
Okay.
Believe yeah, I just ran through all of them. I was just like, yeah, I don't know if I'll watch it again in a hurry, boy, but this is one that I absolutely will not forget. So rated wise, I give this a decent 4.5 out of 5. Man. This is one of the best docu series I've seen for the year. This is off of HBO, by the way. So I don't know if it'll show up on Netflix anytime soon. I kind of doubt that. Maybe one day, who knows? But yeah, if you are into true crime documentaries, if you're into documentaries about, well, social life in the way that just how certain events affect the landscape of, certain communities, I should say, or just, just history, just American history that is one of those things that you don't really hear about because of how morbid the subject matter is, then yeah, definitely
Right.
give this one a look. It doesn't glorify, or this is not some, worshipping of, oh, well, black people struggling, all that kind of stuff, but it's just seriously a scenario that, yeah, you kind of have to think about as far as, the evolution of American history goes. So yeah, this is an absolute must see. Last words of rating on Atlantis Missing and Murdered.
Yeah, this one got 8 out of 10 for me. I didn't hate it. It's just great for what it was. It was a little slow. I felt it's gonna do the pacing a little better. It was a little slow, but it was fine. It was, they kept to the subject matter and what they had to do, tell this story, and they kept it. The most important part, they kept it very human. They boiled it down
Yes.
to that. But it had a little too much courtroom drama stuff that was going on, a little too much. So, that kind of slow it down. But I felt they could have probably tell the story in a shorter amount of time, mostly because they just probably just focus on Wayne's trial instead of they doing the 2 hours of preamble to that.
Right.
Um, I felt that they could have cut some of that, maybe. I don't know. Sure. But for what it was fine. It was pretty good for me. I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Okay, cool. No, I was just thinking about what you said about it being shorter. I guess maybe by one episode, so maybe it could have been four, you know what I mean? But I guess they just wanted to be a bit more uniform and just give it 5 episodes, you know what I mean? So I guess that's why it is the way it is. But I still dug it for what it was, courtroom drama and all, right? I really dug that. So from a 5 episode docu-series to a 10 episode docu-series, let's finally talk about The Last Dance, right?
Yeah.
I will do the synopsis for this and share my thoughts on it, and you'll jump in from here, right? So earlier in this year, you covered the first 2 episodes of this because it premiered. Each of
Right.
the well, I would say like every Sunday from the premiere, you will get 2 episodes per Sunday night. There. So
Right.
I just watched out all 10 as I promised, and what it's about basically is just a look into the Chicago Bulls, right? Into
Yeah.
the iconic dynasty, basketball dynasty that is the Chicago Bulls, right? But of course, it zeroes in on Michael Jordan, and I'll explain what I mean by of course, right? You see his career from the very beginnings, when he started off in the 80s, up to the point that he was drafted into the Chicago Bulls, right? You basically see all of his victories, all of his failures, all that kind of stuff. You see, well, of course, you see the. Okay, so essentially the main focus of the story here is their final season, right? This would be the 97, 98, the 1997 to 1998 Bull season, right?
Yeah.
This is where they achieved their sixth and final victory, right? So not only Jordan gets a spotlight, but also players who were there at that time like Steve Kerr, Dennis Rodman, for example.
Yeah.
We just other individuals that were part of that team, right? But it centers mainly on Michael Jordan because, yeah, in a way, I mean, you can't talk Chicago Bulls without talking about Michael Jordan, right? And then when you think
Yeah.
about it, his work ethic, the way how he approached the game, the way how he approached each and every single match. It just kind of reflects in a way how well his teammates move. With every game that they involve in, right? And that essentially is what the show is about. It's just essentially about, well, the last innings basically of the Chicago Bulls during that time, right? Where Michael Jordan was front and center. And just to jump into the review here, so I'll confess here, I'm not the biggest basketball fan out there, or sports junkie. Like, me watching this, I wish that oh, well, I remember when this happened back in 95 or 90 this or
Yeah.
whatever, right? So I wish that, just in retrospect, me going in, I wish that I was familiar with half of the things that happened here. And I would have been like, oh, right, this happened, that happened. But to me, it didn't matter because of how well told and well structured, emphasis on structure, the show is. Because, I mean, it's not just you taking, well, the big sell of this being that the camera crew at the Chicago Bulls practically gave this camera crew license to film that final season, right? So you got to see some never before seen footage of them, training, them before and after games and all that kind of stuff, them outside of the arenas and inside the
Yeah.
arenas, all that kind of stuff. So it's a really nice and really like amazing, you know what I mean? Sneak peek into what was going on at that point in time. Like, people would kill to see that, and now you get to see us courtesy of ESPN and Netflix, right? But yeah, for me though, well, all right. So in terms of structure, so you're not just taking that season, we're taking about all the other seasons that he had, right? Um, Individual moments and memories with these players and all that kind of stuff, and not just with the Chicago Bulls, but also with the Utah Jazz and LA Lakers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Basically, all well, most if not all of the teams that played against the Bulls at a point in time during their six their 6 year victories are being they get the time to shine basically here on this, right? But yeah, you would take with all this stuff, right? All this footage, and the simplest thing to do would just play it out in like a linear fashion, but they don't do that. They start
Yeah.
off at the actual final season, and then periodically they will go back, right? But they don't just do it just for so. They will do it at specific moments. Like if a character says something, or it reminds them of something that happened before the past, or you want to know why they work so hard. You know what I mean? Especially with guys like Michael Jordan and Steve Kerr, they would go back to the past when they were young. You know what I mean? What their family dynamic was, how they got into basketball, how they were, you know, the pressures that they felt, how they lived up to what they were doing, you know what I mean? And the coaches and all that good stuff, right? You get that stuff, and then it always comes back to where what the show is really about, right? That final season. And yeah, just from a structural perspective, yeah, this is stellar, right? This is documentary filmmaking perfection, in my opinion. Just in terms of just playing with this nonlinear narrative whilst not losing what the show is about, right? And you
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
get it just goes so deep and so in depth into not just the Chicago Bulls, but what it means to be what it means to be an athlete, what it means to be passionate about something and dedicate your heart and your body into this thing, and just showing the ups and downs that go with it. Because yeah, as much as you push yourself and you want to have a lot of victories, you also have to deal with failures too, and it's how you deal with that. Sometimes things happen in your life that come out of the blue. Like there's a certain moment that happens with Michael Jordan involving his dad that I didn't even know happened. I didn't even know that. Like my
Okay,
mind back in like
okay, so
194,
like,
95, I was unaware of these things.
all right.
No, sorry, I didn't know. I didn't
Yeah,
know.
so I had to take over because you don't like you don't remember nothing because almost all of this is not.
Dog, I don't know anything.
The only mostly pretty much all of this is stuff that we know already. For me, at least, I remember when Jordan's dad was murdered. That was a big deal.
Yeah,
Especially when he won the when he won the '96 championship. Um, and that was on Father's Day. The Father's Day ending. So that was a
yes,
big deal. That was the first time he was missing his dad. The stuff I didn't know was Steve Kerr's dad. That was like in
yeah,
one of the last. His dad was also killed as well. In
yeah.
Beirut.
That was a powerful moment though, and how
Yeah.
it reflects with his victory. That's all you'll
Yeah.
say. That was probably one of the most impactful moments of that docu series.
Yeah. And they cover everything. It is a very pro Jordan doc.
It
It's
is. It
a
is.
lot of stuff that
I'll share
Jordan.
my thoughts on the whole pro Jordan thing, but yeah, go on.
Yeah. They kept Jordan knew what he was doing with keeping what information in and out and whatnot. I mean, I could understand that because it have no mention of Jordan's wife, for example, in this. For good reason. And it is a nostalgia trip, right? They do the
Yeah,
big nostalgia trip with this. So all the stuff I remember Dennis Rodman listening and going for thing. I remember when Michael Ting. They do one of my favorite moments. That famous shot against the Cavaliers. I absolutely love that moment. It's a classic Jordan moment when he had to do his final shot. They call it the shot effectively. He had to pull
yes,
up
yeah,
this jump shot with literally 3 seconds left. Classic. They do everything. They cover pretty much everything that you remember. And from what I understand, Jordan decided to release this. I think in 2016, and this is when LeBron won for the Cavs in the last thing. So it was like, okay, Jordan released this around that time, and they put it out. And I thought this was pretty good for what it was. Um, Can't be mad at this. They cover everything. They're all pushing nostalgia buttons, like real nostalgia buttons. Everything I remember. I remember with Jordan's dad and that whole thing with the whether or not he related to his gambling. When he got sick, the flu game, that was a famous one. Now they're saying they rehaul it and saying is food poisoning apparently, right?
yeah. So
Um,
so so to that pizza parlor, Dread, who make that pizza so early in the morning and get him man sick for the whole day. Yeah, fuck you all, Dread.
yeah, well, I think what I find weird about that story is why does that anybody know it was Jordan in the first place? Like they can just call them and say delivers pizza here, or they know it's Jordan. That's kind of
Oh,
weird.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
Yeah. Uh they cover right, they cover Rodman. Rodman and which we call she comedy lecturer.
Comedy lecturer, who by the way still looking fine as hell though. Like them
Yeah,
eyes
yeah.
though. Like eats.
Yeah, then
Yeah,
they do Jerry Krause. They do Jerry Krause whole thing. And
and
Jerry
you're right
Krause
though.
relation.
He does look like one of the monsters from from Space Jam, Dread. Like for
So he
real.
looked like the boss. He looked like the boss of the
Oh,
monsters.
the boss. Yes, you're right. You're right. The boss of the
Yeah,
monsters.
the
My bad.
boss of the monsters.
And speaking of well, just quickly about Space Jam, like I thought that they weren't going to touch on Space Jam, but yeah, they
Yeah,
talk about
they,
Space Jam. But how they work it into the story because, well, while he was doing that film, he was also preparing himself because this is right after he came back into, or at least I think it was when he was about to come back into
yeah. Well,
basketball full time.
he was already back in the NBA at this point.
Oh, right,
For the whole
right.
thing. So,
You're right.
remember the movie addresses that at the end, and then the whole
Yes,
come
yes,
back
yes, yes,
right.
yeah,
But he just get Reggie Miller, Magic Johnson, all them old men to play a classic game with him. Um, they had all of his rivals, and they didn't talk about the one person who they didn't talk about because he's a person that, in my opinion, was like the true real challenger of Jordan. It would have been amazing to see them clash. That would have been Hakeem Olajuwon, right?
Oh yeah,
Of the
because you
Houston.
just had a clip of him,
Yeah,
and right
yeah,
being
they won.
drafted, and that was it.
Yeah, that was because he won at the time. They won twice when the Bulls didn't win. Though. Um, and yeah, I thought they really, really did a good job with just telling the story. Yeah, the amount of disrespect for Scottie Pippen, yeah, oh my gosh, sad.
Well,
And it really make it look better because it had the whole when he abandoned the team thing and they didn't put that in proper context. I felt because if you know the context of that, it was really more Tony Kukoc did fuck up with the ball with the earlier plays, but you don't know that. You really make it look as if the coach just decided to choose Kukoc over Pippen to take the final shot. That is not the case.
right.
Um, Little stuff like I thought they could have like right now they could totally do a spin off with Rodman. I felt we could have got more Rodman, but like whatever is fine.
Yeah, that's one of my gripes too. And I was glad actually. Well, this is funny because there's a WWE series called Untold, right? And they touch on the uh on that
Yeah,
moment with Rodman and Carl Malone
like
when they were in that match against what was my Diamond Dallas Page and
yeah,
what's his face Hulk Hogan, right? So I thought
yeah,
that was funny that they touched on it briefly. That was
yeah,
really cool. Yeah.
yeah. So they could have talked about talk about Calmon a little more. I felt they could have done that. Um, but that's it. They covered what they needed to cover, and that's why most, if not all of it, works for me. Again, it's pure
Right.
nostalgia. As a documentary, I felt they could have probably make stuff. They could. I don't know. I was not a big fan of the back and forth flow. Like structurally, it doesn't work all that well for me personally. But because of the sheer nostalgia, I didn't really care. But I'd imagine if I was not a basketball fan, um, if I'd have liked this as much. Like let's say they did this for Wayne Gretzky, or they did it for like Miracle on Ice or something like that, or some
Yeah.
baseball person, like Ken Griffey Jr. or something like that. Would I have cared as much or be as attentive? And I doubt. The answer is I doubt. And they did some
Yeah.
great stuff about like if Jordan stayed in baseball, he would have gotten to the major leagues.
Yes.
Um, because well the player shutout end up killing that. Um, they talk about his relationship with his dad's death and his leaving and his retirement. I find a lot of that worked. Um, yeah, and they did the ending with Jordan being the whole gambling thing. I find that was interesting. They didn't get into it. Because it was really conspiracy theory crap, but they addressed that. I like they address it in
Yeah.
some interesting ways. They make a lot of that. And yeah, that's it. I've been after this documentary, I've been binging a lot of Jordan's, well, not Jordan per se, but just general NBA stats and stuff. I remember, and there were all these people who fighting on whether or not LeBron better than Jordan and all this stuff. These debates, and I could kind of get into these debates. I haven't been a part of them for a hot minute, but I felt you could have done them. Uh, what it was, the part with Kobe, that was real sad. Kobe, yeah,
Yeah, it
because
was. And I love how they dedicate
yeah,
the episode to him. They actually had a moment
yeah,
where he was being interviewed. I thought that was like
yeah,
imagine
yeah,
if you're a real diehard Kobe fan, yeah,
yeah.
you'll be weeping at that moment.
Yeah, it was real unfortunate. It's a real sad and everything. So they make it work.
Yeah.
And yeah, this documentary was really, really good for me. But I'll admit it does lean heavily, a little too heavily on the nostalgia instead of like telling our story per se. For what it is. But I really
Right,
liked
right.
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I totally understand and agree with where you're coming from, right? So me not knowing everything there is to know about that era, right? I was still engaged and engrossed in everything that I was seeing here. The passages of time, just them going back and forth at first was kind of like, okay, is this what we're going with? All right. But it started to work with me even more when it came to certain moments where because remember, it's not just about victories; it's about what the mindset behind the people that were involved in those games, and that's
Yeah.
really the strength of the show. Like it's not just like to the naked eye, especially to people who don't really care about basketball. It's like, oh, it's just a match and it happened, and they play and they throw a ball and blah blah blah, and that was it. No, it goes deeper than that. It's deeper than skill. It's more about what were the people what were in their minds, what they have to lose, what they don't have to lose, and just the going back and forth really kind of emphasize that, you know what I mean? Like you really get a sense of, oh well, this is all leading up to this particular point. So to you it might just be, oh, they're just playing a game, but it goes way deeper than that. I will admit, yes, it is very it leads very heavily on Michael Jordan himself. And in a way, I understand it, because he is the man, right?
Yeah.
You want to be back
Yeah.
like Mike, right? I get, right? And I
Yeah.
wish, like I said, they had moments for other players like Dennis Rodman. I actually thought that he was gonna have a whole episode about him, you know. But yeah, but other than that, though, I do understand in a sense why it had to be about him because yeah, he was like the driving force of the team. He still love it, right? His
Yeah,
work ethic, the way how he did things, even though he would admit, and the show perfectly shows this, he was far from perfect. He made mistakes just like everybody else. He was an asshole. He was kind of dictatorish. He moved like a dictator at some points in time. But there was one moment, I think it was in episode 7, where he says, you may not like the way how I play, Trent, but you know, the idea is that if I could do it, you can. I know, like,
yeah, exactly.
I've
Yeah,
already went through the same thing that I'm trying to push you towards. So yeah, if you don't like the way how I play, well, I'm sorry. Well, that is paraphrasing here. And then he
yeah,
ends the moment by saying break. And this is right before he wells like his eyes well up in tears, right? I thought
yeah,
like that moment actually kind of summed up the whole show for me. Cause that's what it
yeah,
is. It's just really about, well, yeah, pushing yourself and other people towards that victory. But then the question, as the last episode hints at, is, well, what's next? You know what I mean? What's next after this last victory?
yeah,
Do you have it in you to keep doing more? You know what I mean? And they kind of leave it at that. So yeah, as a person who wasn't really all that into basketball, yeah, I enjoy the hell out of this one. I imagine, like, you see, like, for me, I would say, like, if you generally hate basketball, like if you don't care at all about basketball, if you don't care about sports, yeah, this this is not for you. But if you are at least intrigued by that, at least if you were around in that era, and you know how big a deal the Chicago Bulls were, were, then yeah, you know what I mean. I strongly recommend you check this out.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's not the most perfect documentary out there, but I see this up there as one of the greats in my opinion. Not just because
yeah,
of subject matter, but the way how it was told, the way just merely how they were able to take like literally 2 decades of footage, 2 decades of character interactions and drama behind the scenes, all that kind of stuff, and victories and feelings, and condense that into 10 entertaining as hell episodes. I mean, that's admirable here. So just seeing this right off the bat one time, I do see this straight up in my best stuff for as far as TV shows go for the year. I rated this high. I'm gonna give this a strong 4.5 out of 5. It's not the greatest show in the world, mind you. But if you are a diehard NBA fan, you'll love everything about it. If you're a diehard Chicago Bulls fan, you'll love everything about this. If you just love watching stories about the human spirit and just how far one could push himself or herself to become great and
yeah,
inspire other people, all that kind of stuff. Because that's really what I got out of it. Like, I don't have to know all the stats and who win by how much points and all that kind of stuff, but just seeing these human beings just push themselves and become great. You know what I mean? Like that kind of shit fuels me. Like that kind of shit inspires me, Dred. And like you, I actually want to go back and actually educate myself actually on what went on during those 6 seasons. I want to learn more, man. So I'm glad that the show really did that for me. So yeah, this is one of the best docu-series for the year, one of the best TV shows I've seen for the year. This is an absolute must-see. It certainly lives up to the hype. Yes, folks, there's more things out there than Tiger King. Give this a look. Definitely give this a look.
yeah, yeah. This one, everybody kind of watched this and was watching it live. I wanted it to be 5 nights instead of just 5 weeks. I find that's a little too much, but whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
it should have been like what they do with OG Me in America, which,
right,
well, it
right.
was 5 episodes. I think it was
Yeah,
5 or 6, but they ran it
yeah. And
over a week.
it's a nice complementary piece in terms of OJ Made in America. Whilst that more gets into the sociological things, this one just getting into the more broad, kind of, well, lack of a better term, monoculture that existed in the 90s now. Like we haven't had that since then, right? That's why the popularity of basketball have never been as popular, especially when the Utah they were playing the Jazz. I think that's the highest rated ending, the highest
Right.
rated finals ever. Um, so yeah, I really can't be mad at any of this. It really, it just did so much in terms of, again, pure nostalgia. Really good story in that sense. It does remember everything, all the history and whatnot. I mean, it does have me going back, just going through all my basketball stuff that I was really into back then. The only thing I'll finish off with is to say, they're a really great thread on Twitter called Golden Gills as Jordans. Look it up. It's hilarious and awesome. Um, yeah, so that's that. 9 out of 10 for me. Next up, perfect score. Mostly because it just does really good job of catering to what you should be as a Bulls fan. If you're a fan of the 90s Bulls, it's perfect for you. Great storytelling, Jordan's drive, all the stuff of him injuring himself and getting back and bringing back himself from nothing, and how much stress and thing he had to put, and him carrying the team and making the effort. That's it. I mean, I can't be mad at that.